And so they go on. Have you noticed that all the functions of the mind so far are in the area where man does not maintain awareness? All of these functions are, for the most part, subconscious or below the conscious level of our awareness. Also notice that the animal kingdom goes no further. The animal doesn't have karma. That leaves them with the emotional sources 1, 2, 3, and 5. And here the animal stops. You remember 1 was the genetic cellular programs, 2 was the learned responses, 3 was the influences to keep the earth balanced, and 5 was man's mental projection. Animal stops there; he doesn't have any more. One other thing that you really need to notice here, it says, have you noticed that all the functions of the mind discussed so far are in the area where man does not maintain his awareness? Even karma? We have that extra 1, 2, 3, 5, 4, karma. And none of them are in the area where man maintains his awareness. It's another one of those things where they focus on something or point you to something, and they just go on like they didn't say anything. Have you noticed that all of the functions of the mind discussed so far are in the area where man does not maintain his awareness? So in other words, here we have all this influence on man, the civilized, no longer animal being, and they point it out to you as kind of a legal proof. The lawyer standing there trying to get you to see something, that here we've got 5 different things that influence man. I mean, don't they? Doesn't breathing influence you? Doesn't your heart beat? Doesn't the mental projections of man, doesn't the genetic programming, doesn't the learned responses, the balancing of the earth's structure, don't all those things influence man, to the point where you can hardly tell that there's anything left? Looking at this thing the other way around, have you ever noticed how human animals are? Have you ever noticed how human your pet is? Have you ever noticed how human your pet is? The point is, obviously, that they're trying to get you to see that you're a lot animal. There's a great deal of animal influence in you. You're not civilized. You're not beyond it. They're telling you you're not beyond it. Here's 5 places where you're not beyond it. You're not even aware of the 5 places. Tremendous influence on you. You're not even aware of it. I think that's kind of what they're trying to tell you, and I think that's an important thing. You make these assumptions when you get into Book 4 and you begin to see what it is we do with our society. You see really quick something's wrong, and that this logical, civilized person that you think you are, and living in this logical, civilized society that you think you're living in, you're not. And you can see it by the way we have allowed society to be built. And when you see it built another way, you see it very clearly. We're not thinking civilized human beings. We're almost tribal. We're almost monkeys. But that's for Book 4. So they go on. We have now covered the entire mind of the animal. What they do or do not do is covered by that which we discussed above. The animal is linked to Father through the emotions and has neither free will nor awareness of self. The animal, like all things, save those influenced by the soul, are a part of the body of Father. They must follow the laws Father has laid down, much as your finger must follow your command. Do you see the difference? The stars follow the laws. The galaxies follow the laws. The planets and all things on them, save man, follow the laws. Only the soul has free will. Only the soul is not connected to Father by law. Only the soul can choose. And there again, something very strong, great deal of emphasis placed on it. It's something to think about. Man is insignificant. Man is in an insignificant planet, in an insignificant solar system, in an insignificant galaxy, in this immense universe. And then on the other hand, you see them saying that the stars have to follow the laws, and the galaxy has to follow the laws, and the animals have to follow the laws, and everything has to follow Father's laws. They're just following Father's laws. The soul has free will. Only the soul is not connected to Father by law. Now, all of a sudden, this thing that's trapped in this animal body in this insignificant place becomes one of the greatest things in creation. Kind of a dual thing, you know. It's really strange the way people view themselves, trying to be gods in this totally insignificant place in the specter of creation, and not knowing they're already the second highest thing in existence. Strange. And they go on. So we stop with the animal kingdom and go on with man. Man has more mind left to investigate. The next thing we come to, because of the soul's attachment or influence, is that man has awareness. This awareness finds its influence or expression, as we said, in the left side and some of the right side of the frontal lobe of the brain. This is where you seem to do all your thinking, and where all that you can become aware of enters your awareness. In other words, the manifestation of is in the logical, mathematical, rational side of the brain, with a little bit of the intuitiveness allowed to creep in, is what they're saying. And that's where you seem to do all of your thinking, and this is where all of your awareness enters in. And they go on and say, this is where you are, as far as you can tell, or at least that's what you've been taught. Now here again, they say, all these little things that they slide in. This is what you've been taught. This is where you are. They go on and say, that being so, the next step in the argument of those who serve is very obvious. If you can't see it, touch it, smell it, hear it, taste it, it must not exist. And you cannot see Father, love, kindness, caring, and the whole range of the mystical art. So they must not exist. Only new cars exist. Only new houses exist. Only jewelry exists. Only large bank accounts exist. Only the right toothpaste, lipstick, aftershave, hair dye exists. Now, who or what would profit from that kind of lie? And they say more later, and you know when, if it's ever written. So is that it? Man has karma and the conscious thought that the animal doesn't? Is that enough to make man different than the animals and enough to explain the total man? Is that the sum total of the model of man we're trying to create? So here they are saying, okay, you've got it all. Do you have it all now? You got the whole keyboard? And they say, no. The problem again is that as we go on up the scale of the mind, man's awareness does not go on with us, and we are back to the subconscious state of unawareness. In other words, generally you're thinking that the subconscious is the lower levels. Here they're saying that we've dealt with the lower levels, then we came to the conscious state, man's awareness where it is, and then all of a sudden they're saying, oh, mind goes on. There's more to it than that, but now you're back to the unconscious state again. And what in the world is this? What are they saying? They're saying that the mind goes on to higher levels, but your consciousness doesn't. So then they go on and say, going on up the scale of this mind of man, we find a myriad of influences, all relating to his spiritual or mystical, as man would call them, in his limited understanding. They all have their influence in man in the area behind the frontal lobes. Now, this influence, this expression, they're saying, is behind the frontal lobes, between the frontal lobes and the midbrain. Again, you have to go into the brain structure to find out where that is, but that is the place, that is the expression. that's where it finds its expression. And then they say, we will group them as an aid to understanding. And what they're saying there is we're going to take all of these influences and group them all together so that it'll be easier for you to understand rather than trying to separate and show you how each one influences. They're just going to put them all together. So they start out with the first part of that group that they're grouping together. And they say, there is the influence of those who are earthbound and cannot seem to get on and away after death. And they say we discussed those in the steps of death, and you remember those ones hanging around that couldn't leave the earth influence. They hang around trying to influence any who would allow. They bring woe to those who try to meditate without proper instruction. And they say proper, not expert. Those who drink or drug themselves get blown away. And those who just leave their bodies without instructions to the guardian. Did you get that? They do so much of this stuff. They bring woe to those who try to meditate without proper instruction. They bring woe. They bring woe to those who drink or drug themselves, get blown away. They bring woe to those who just leave their bodies without instructing the guardian. Now, there are a lot of you that don't even know what they're talking about here. Meditate without proper instruction. That was proper, not expert. They're saying, not expert instruction, please. Proper instruction is what they're after. What are they saying? Well, this is an area that I do know again. Proper instruction, meditate inward, never seek outward. Don't drink or drug yourself to get blown away. You leave the door open. Those things hanging around can enter. Those who just leave their body without instruction to the guardian. What instruction to the guardian? What guardian? If you're going to leave your body, you have to instruct your guardian. This place is mine. Let no one enter save that which would be on my side. That's the instruction. Let no one enter here. This is my abode. You're not welcome. You must leave. That's the instruction to the guardian. If you have to leave, and as you venture inward, you're not leaving, but there are circumstances where perhaps in your development you might leave your body. There is instructions that you can give to the guardian. Actually, you shouldn't be doing that until you know those rules. It's one of those things that slow, careful development gives you a well-rounded understanding